Title: TIFU by attending my sister's wedding, obligatory throwaway account. And this happened last weekend, but I'm only discovering the total impact today. And #X200B, my sister's wedding was last weekend. During a hurricane, tropical storm thing. I haven't lived in my hometown for several years, so hurricane, tropical storm survival skills are a little rusty. My best friend drove, as I had flown in for the event and didn't rent a car. As we are about to leave, I remember that my lipstick is in the house, and in case they want to do pictures at the reception or after the ceremony, I need to be prepared. I run back in the house, grab my lipstick, run back down the driveway, and open the door to my friend's car. In the 3 seconds that I stopped to open the door, my legs suddenly felt like they were on fire. So when the door opens, I'm screaming, "I'm on fire," and my best friend looks totally befuddled as there is no evidence of anything burning. 3 seconds later, I realize I have been swarmed by fire ants. Fire ants. In my shoes. In my clothes. In my hair. In the car. Hundreds of them. My best friend and I are frantically trying to get these ants off of me and out of the car. I run back in the house, and rinse my feet off in the bathtub. My feet are starting to swell. Throw on a pair of slip-on casual shoes because my now swelling feet won't fit in the shoes I brought to wear to the wedding. Get to the wedding, 10 minutes late, with whelps erupting all over my feet, legs and fingers. Found an ant crawling on my arm in the church. Now, you know how when you've been itching all over you start to itch in places that shouldn't be itching? Like a phantom itch? Okay, so, I had an itch in my crotch during the wedding and reception. Yeast infection? No. Probably just a phantom itch because my entire body is itching from the 45 or so bites. Or so I thought. A couple days later, I return home and me and the hubs have sexy time. He says, "You okay?" Things felt kind of hard. I made some joke about getting old. Well, during my shower, I also realize things are hard. I intrepidly take a very graphic selfie to investigate. Fire ant bites. On my inner labia. There is no WebMD entry for how to treat fire ant bites on genitalia. Fire ants swarm during heavy rain, kiddos. And #X200B, edit, rip my inbox. Some items to clarify. 1. Bites are healing. Even those bites. 2. Regarding attending a wedding in a pandemic, all of the venues limited the number of guests to under 50, even outdoors. The church holds 1,100 people, so all of us basically had a pew to ourselves during the ceremony. The reception venue holds 200, only 40 or so people attended. Half of the attendees stayed in one section of the venue watching football on a big screen TV. Again, limited contact. And masks and sanitizer were available throughout the venues for people that didn't bring their own. 3. Yeah, I know, weddings are the new super spreader events and the decision to attend was not made lightly. I did spend all day Saturday before the wedding with my dad, helping him get ready, watching football, and going through his old high school yearbooks reminiscing about his friends and his memories. His wish was to have all of us together for a happy event one last time, COVID be damned. He gets tested approximately once a month as well. So far, he's still negative. 4. Fire ants form ant rafts in water as they try to escape their flooded mounds during heavy rain. Car was in the driveway. Ants had aggregated in a puddle next to the car, and that is what I stepped in. 5. Yes, I know, whelps are puppies. Title: TIFU by leaving a cup on the counter, gory. This happened last night. It wasn't just any cup, of course. It was even a very clean cup, in a way. Last week I had my period, but it was 2 weeks late because of my job is very physical, hard on my body. So it struck unexpectedly and ruined some underwear I really like. TMI? What do you expect in this subreddit? Me, being a genius, realized my underwear was white, so after rinsing it, decided to bleach it. Stuck the damaged portion at the bottom of a tall glass, poured in an appropriate amount of bleach, put it under the sink to do its thing. Fast forward a couple hours, it's evening and I realized I forgot about it. Ran to the bathroom, extracted my garment, rinse and hang dry blah blah. Mission success, my lace panties are a delicate lovely white again. Ran back to the living room to greet my BF who just then returned home. That night, my BF is crawling into bed and kisses my ear. What were you using bleach for? I thought it was a mouthwash cup, so I rinsed my mouth with that. As a medic, my first instinct was purely medical. Babe, did you rinse your mouth out? You didn't swallow any, right? Laughing, he reassures me he's good, but now for me, realization and horror begin to dawn. Oh my God, I whisper and cover my face. That cup. He pauses. What do you mean, that cup? My name, what cup? He sounds panicked. It's okay babe, I used bleach, it's actually super clean. But I'm dying inside, and he can tell. I can't look at him. He turns me over. With a deadly calm voice, my name, what was in that cup? Bloody underwear? He groans and collapses on his back. We proceed to laugh for the next straight 10 minutes. Title: TIFU. By trying to show off to my girlfriend, not actually today, a couple of years ago, I had been with my girlfriend for a couple of months and things were going well. One day we were walking through town just hanging out and we ended up walking through our local shopping center. We were about to exit the center when I saw a horizontal Gothic-style railing above the exit. Decided it would be a good idea to swing on the railing on the way out. Don't you wish you were this cool? Anyway, I jump up and grab onto the railing. However, this particular railing had a pattern that included bars of metal in a V or upside-down triangle formation all along the railing. So naturally my fingers wedged themselves into the bottom corner of this tight gap, and before I knew it my fingers were stuck and I was just dangling there as my girlfriend looks at me awkwardly laughing and looking at me like I'm a right bellend. Which I was. The worst thing was as I was dangling in front of the exit, people from the busy shopping center kept walking around me while I was in the way, probably thinking I was just a public nuisance. After about 10 seconds, I started to panic and felt my strength slowly failing, and I remember thinking that there was a real possibility that I would actually lose my fingers in this situation. I finally built up enough adrenaline to pull myself up with one arm and release my other hand from the wedge and vice versa. Title: TIFU, most embarrassing thing that has ever happened to me. So, a few years ago me and this girl I'd been seeing for a short while and I are out on our first official date. We'd been seeing each other for a while but always with other friends etc. and nothing was official between us. TBH, she was way out of my league, so didn't think I had much of a chance of anything long-term materializing. It was a complicated, all physical, but hardly any ice broken otherwise kind of deal. Meh, and I wasn't the most confident type anyway when it came to relationships and stuff. I was amazed I actually had the balls to ask her out in the first place. Anyway, we're about to go see a movie, and I'm getting dressed up and as I try on my brand new pair of jeans that I ordered online, slightly too big for me, not drowning me but just looked a bit crap and I had to pull them up at the waist slightly every 10 or 15 steps, no other clean jeans in the house, my belt buckle had broken a few days before, I was kind of screwed, but no way was I passing up this date, it was our first proper one, had to roll with it and just wear them. They weren't that bad, just frustrating. Anyway, after I pick her up we're en route to the cinema and right next to the cinema there's a load of clothes shops. We're a bit early anyway so I decide to go nip into a few of the stores quickly. I knew I was desperately in need of a belt as I was getting a bit self-conscious about having to constantly pull up my trousers, fighting for small talk whilst I joke about my old belt falling apart. My date mentions I should buy a real leather one and not a PVC one as they last longer. I figured I might as well get a good one as my old cheap one at home broke anyway. So, we go into a clothes store. I am there trying to find a new belt but I can't find a proper leather one anywhere. After a while she spots the women's shoes display and says to me, going to look at the shoes, be back in a minute. I carry on and finally I find a belt that, TBH, looks like it's almost too shiny to be real leather, but it said it was real on the ticket and seemed sturdy enough, so I grab it and after spending another few minutes of browsing random other stuff I go to find her. I do a lap of the store carrying this belt and suddenly remember, oh yeah, she was looking at shoes or something, I'll go there then. Got to the shoes display and she stood there in front of me, head up, looking at the shelf of expensive stuff. So I decide to play a stupid little joke on her as we're fairly playful and stuff, and I go behind her and tap her ass with this belt and then hug her from behind with my head on her shoulder and I say, leather or PVC, whilst holding the belt in front of her. She turns around and, yep, wasn't her. Was just someone who had the same hairstyle wearing an identical black cardigan harmlessly looking at shoes, and a random guy has just come behind her, lightly tapped her ass with a belt, put his head on her shoulder whilst hugging her from behind. She freezes, and to top it all off he seemingly dropped the casual pickup line of leather or PVC, as if it was a weirdo fetish proposition, and when she turns around to see me, I'm stood there with my trousers looking like they're about to fall down. Turned out in the end my date was in the changing rooms trying on a top that she had found. I instantly realized what happened and immediately died inside. The cringe memories of it still haunts me to this day and often pops into my head just as I'm about to fall asleep. Luckily the poor lady laughed her head off whilst I was stuttering out an explanation where every other sentence was, OMG I am so sorry. Couple of bystanders also in fits of laughter and one guy even dropped his coffee, he was laughing that hard. Eventually I start laughing too, all whilst dying inside. My date gets out the changing room and she starts laughing uncontrollably after I explain. So embarrassed. Now I definitely didn't have a proper shot at a relationship with my date and I'd screwed it all up. I recoiled into myself and wanted the world to swallow me up. Afterwards, whilst dropping my date back home, not expecting anything to materialize as I was a laughing stock and my self-confidence was in the drain. My date tells me that she's had a wonderful time and never laughed that hard in her life, from her saying that I suddenly get a YOLO attitude out of nowhere and get the confidence to ask her out on another proper date. Fast forward to today and we're married with a brand new baby.